for the first episode here on the Walker's Cave podcast, we have none other than the man himself, the El Jefe, the boss, the Commodore, Mr. Carl Allen.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here. Captain Ian, Johnny.
Sir.
So, Mr. Allen, you're the owner of Walker's Key. Go ahead. It's a very good story. It's a well-known story about the first time you came to Walker's.
Oh, God. I've told it a lot, but I'm going to tell the good part here. So, I grew up on the water. My first experience was in the Finger Lakes up in New York. That's where I'm from. And parents got divorced at a young age, and we moved to Chicago. And lo and behold, I grew up on what I thought was an ocean, Lake Michigan. And my stepfather, Mr. Walgreen, used to run a little pharmacy on the corner. He taught me how to fish in Lake Michigan. We were, downrigging for German browns and cohos and oh boy, did I get sick. Lake Michigan, the chop is like right next to each other. I mean, I remember just pounding seasickness, but wanted to make him proud that I wanted to fish. So I had this real, torn between staying home and going fishing with him. And one day, just after actually before he married my mom, he had bought a house in Stewart at the Yacht and Country Club, if you know where that is, on a canal. And our first experience was renting a center console. I'd never even seen the ocean. I was just turned 12 and going out to St. Lucie Inlet, taking a hard right and going down to the Kingfish Hole to catch. I always said it's misnamed. You go down there to catch Spanish mackerel, not kings, but it's called the King Mackerel Hole. And oh my gosh, you know how it is. You catch them one after another. I was instantly hooked. And at some point I looked to the east and I said, "Hey, what's out there, Dad?" And he said, "Well, that's the Bahamas. That's we got to go there." And I think it was like a week later. We were down there for late summer, and Buddy had a trawler, and he said, "Hey, they're going over to Walker's for the night." And I'm like, "Walker's? Yeah, let's go." And just to see the Gulf Stream for one, and then coming up as a 12-year-old up on they had a little tower on it. I was up there, and to see the Bahama Banks for the first time.
The color change.
Yeah. You're like, oh my God. I mean, I knew I was never going back to a lake. And we see Walker's on the distance, and Cork was there with me, and I remember it 46 years ago, like it was yesterday. He said, "Well, that's Walker's Cay." And we pulled in here. It was the heyday, 1976. This place was blowing and going, and they had just had Bertram had her shootout, I think, a month before that. And all I wanted to do was run down the runway. And there was rumors that there was planes crashed. And, all us kids wanted to go see that. But I was always a place when we kept coming back over the years. I've come to the Bahamas. I've never missed a year coming back to the Bahamas since I saw Walker's. And Cork he never liked to stay here. You remember, it was, "Hey, check in at Walker's, then we're going to Long Island." And I'm like, "Why would you want to leave this place? It's got everything. I mean, it's where the bonefish meet the billfish, blah, blah, blah." Yeah. But we always would keep going. But the good thing is, and I think you remember those days, it was like the last stop on the way home, and he hated going home.
Yeah.
He was always in the dumpster. "Oh, Dad, can we get a night at Walker's?" And we'd end up, 2 or 3 nights, and my mom standing on the dock waiting for us,
You didn't want to talk to him that last day.
But, and then Walker's got hit by the storms, which you guys are pretty young, but it wiped this place out completely. And it was already kind of going downhill, and unfortunately, my kids don't remember those days. They remember Walker's as a rock,
Yeah.
And, we would come here, you'd come here.
Yeah.
Dock over here next to this wall.
Anchor out,
Anchor out. And so, that's the story of me and Walker's.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you referenced Mr. Walgreen, and that's actually how we met. I was the mate on his boat, the Wags, for Captain Buck, and we got to do some Bahama trips, and that's how we got to know. And then I was lucky enough, and you hired me when you bought the fleet.
Well, those were some fun days, Ian. I mean,